Well, what is it? Monday, June 2nd. And we are leaving Papeete, Tahiti. Adios Papeete, adios Tahiti, and adios French Polynesia. We are Hawaii bound. So I've got my good bro Tuck here with me. No more of the solo stuff for this adventure. That's okay. I'm pretty excited to have Tuck here as crew. We are gonna be going somewhere between 2,500 and 2,800 miles, depending on what course we take. I'm just guessing. And we'll probably have a little bit of close hauled stuff before we get to the Inter Tropical Convergence Zone, and then hopefully a kind of a reach after that. But this may be a little bit harder sailing in some ways than coming down, other than I don't think we're going to have a lot of deep downwind angles. So we're just going to try and keep our teeth intact as we're making our way north. Our first evening in rain. Did you close that hatch? You did? Okay. Yeah, here's the rain. We got 16.7. Let's go ahead and take the head sail in, the big one, I think. Hang on. It's raining. Pretty good. Well, we survived our first night at sea. Conditions were pretty decent. You know, we started with champagne sailing, and then we got a couple of very mild squalls, no big deal. We're back to full canvas now, and we're pushing a little tighter here. So we're trying to get to the equator at about 145 degrees west, which is putting our apparent wind angle into the 40s to try and get there. So we're making a little over 5 knots, 5.4 give or take right now at the moment. So boat speed's pretty solid, and it's pretty comfortable at the moment. What they call bashing. All right, well, one of the downsides to having clouds here is we don't get much solar production, and decided I wanted to make water, so we are doing a charging run with the engine right now, running a little over 1,500 RPMs. We'll put some juice in the batteries and some water in the tank. So there's my water maker gauge there. It looks like I'm getting good flow. There's a product tube here. I have to test this water to see what the solids content isn't. So I have a total dissolved solids meter that I can test to see if it's safe to drink, and if it looks good, we'll start putting it into the tank. So while we're heeling over, foot is braced to keep myself from flying out of the nav station chair here. So there's only one place to sit down or lay down, and that's in the port settee, or you go outside and make yourself comfortable out there. It's pretty hot because we're hard on the wind. We have everything buttoned up, so there's not much air coming in. I do have one doorway vent right above us. Actually, I do have some wind coming in, which is nice. Then I have a couple of fans running to circulate the hot air in here. It's not helping running the engine, but you know, we need the juice to make water and to charge up the excessive amount of electronics we have on this boat. So on our second day here, we're approaching sunset. We're actually coming up on the Tuamotus here. So we left the Society Islands with Tahiti, and here's the Tuamotus we'll be passing by. There's an atoll about 31.8 nautical miles away, and we're going to go on the lee side of the island, so we don't have to worry about trying to pinch up like we were yesterday, trying to stay off the island as the wind came up and we were getting rained on and everything. So we may want to fall down a little bit at some point, or probably we can just hold course, but things might slow down or get a little bit wonky if there's any wind effect there. But these atolls are really shallow, low-lying islands, so they don't have the, you know, the same impact. And this one's a fairly small one. So once we pass that, we'll be heading north of the Tuamotus, and I think still on our course towards the equator at about 145 degrees west. We started at 149 something, and right now we're at we're actually still at 149, so we've got a ways to go. We've been making our way north slowly, more north than we've been making our way east, but we want to try and get that east in. One thing that discovered is we put that second reef back in the main, but we have both of the head sails out in full, and actually picked up boat speed, and everything's balanced a lot better right now, which I'm not totally surprised by, but if I would have known that, I would have done it earlier. So we've got 16 knots of true wind, and our apparent wind angle is 41. Well, 38 right now. It may luff a little bit, but we're running pretty shallow angles, so we're pretty hard on the wind right now, and which means we're going to feel every bump in the road here as we continue to make our way. Now, if we were heading downwind, it'd be a walk in the park here. You look at the seas; they're just kind of choppy and confused. I actually expect that to develop into maybe a little bit more defined swells up to close to 3 meters at about 10 seconds or so tomorrow, which is Wednesday and Thursday. So it'll be a little bit rolly and a little bit bouncy for the next couple of days, but I think this is our course. Definitely we're going to be on this tack. Now if the wind comes up a little bit more, I forget at what point, how many days forward, we might see more like 20 knots true wind versus the 15 or so that we're seeing right now. We would reef in that Genoa and just go with the staysail and the reef main. Good morning. It's a little bit after 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. I'm kind of hiding out under the Dodger. The sea state picked up a fair bit last night, so we're expecting about 3 meter waves. Like we've seen some already in that category. So the next 48 hours are probably going to be pretty bumpy. It's not horrible right now. We were going above the ley line, so we're doing really well. We're holding in the low 40s apparent wind angle, because it's helping us, you know, make more east. And their boat speed and everything, you know, was pretty good, but it's more uncomfortable the more the shallower the angle to the wind here, with the parent wind angle, the less comfortable it is. So we did crack off about maybe 10 degrees or so. What are we running right now? Almost 20. So we're running about 60 degrees. AWA right now, and that's fine because we're actually still kind of above the ley line, and I think we'll probably try and do that. It's much more comfortable. It's still not comfortable. I mean, it's pretty bumpy and miserable out here, but we're gonna try and keep her balanced and hopefully get some rest, because I don't think Tuck got any sleep at all within the last 24 hours. I didn't get very much, so we're just gonna try and chill and grind our way through this. A little wet out here sailing. Thursday, I think June 5th, about 5:20 in the morning. Good morning. So we had the staysail and the double reef main, and you know, while the seas still suck and it's a bit bumpy, it was more comfortable than having the Geno out. And as Tuck put it earlier, there's no way to sleep in these seas with the Geno out. It came at a cost of boat speed. So right now, you know, we're seeing 4.7, 4.5, 5.1, but I saw a lot of the 3s last night, so our average speed is going to be down. So we're a little bit behind pace. The other problem is that we need to point at about 15 degrees to get to 145 degrees west at the equator, and we are what, at 356, a little bit over. So we kind of fell below the ley line a little bit. So this isn't the sail configuration we're going to want for a proper course. The other thing is true wind. You know, the wind shifted a little bit. So it's going to get better in the next couple of days, but we're getting pretty close to like peak seas for the next week of about 3 meters, and we're going to see 18 to 20 knots, you know, with gusts maybe in the lower 20s. So what I want to see is, can we hold with the Genoa, not get too overpowered, and hold our course, because we know we can't hold our course with the staysail and the main. Another option would be to put the reefed Genoa out instead of the staysail and see if we can shoot a higher course with a partially furled Genoa. And the challenge there is, the furling hardware for the furling line, you know, it's attached to like the bow pulpit and some other things like that. It's just not as robust and as beefy as everything else. So if we're really going to be pushing hard, I really don't like that partially furled reefing line. You know, I mean, like everybody does that. People that have sloops do it. We got a long way to go, and I think we may still have some hard sailing in front of us. So that's kind of where we're at there. Maybe I can show you here on this. So let's look at our wind conditions here. And you don't have to read all this, but I can see 17s with gusts to 22. You know, 18.9 gusts. But then if I scroll to the right, see all these little orange things, warning, roll. So this goes on and on. Mostly roll, warning for most of the next several days, and we've already been in this, so it's not like any concern or anything. It's just, it's going to be uncomfortable, and we're going to have to prioritize how we're going to get rest in the middle of all this. That's really the biggest thing, is it just wears you down. This is what we do. just about doubled our speed now that we've got the Genoa out. So it took Tuck and I a little bit of work and screwing around, cleaning up lines up front and getting organized. But we're making, I don't know, we're in the fives, in the high fives to lower fives. I saw 6. It's if we go faster, we've got a choppy wave state, but hybrid vane looks like it's quasi-balanced, not too bad. So it's not laying over, and I think we've only got maybe -1 degree of Kentucky windage on the rudder. So that's pretty good. And then our course is now slightly better, 10 degrees maybe average, versus going a little bit less than north. So we might look at our angle of attack here and see if we can come up even a little further. 9 o'clock. It's 23 knots apparent wind, and it's still bashing. We're actually 38, 40, running a pretty tight apparent wind angle. And that's kind of by design. So we're trying to run it pretty high. We got everything sheeted in pretty well. And these waves are definitely slowing us down a little bit as we're plowing into them, but we're averaging about 5 knots, and that's okay. I know if I crack off and do some other things, I can make up even a little bit more speed, but this, considering the conditions, is pretty comfortable. And also, very importantly, we're kind of back on our course, so we're kind of creeping back up on our ley line a little bit, which is nice. But yeah, the waves are pretty good, and it's wet up on the bow, but it's been reasonably dry back here. 2:45 Thursday. So I was kind of feeling good. We're making 5 to 6 knots, and we actually got our course over ground higher. I just turned on the Starlink and updated with my Predict Wind hub, and it's kind of some crappy news, but it's awesome that this technology exists. So if you were following along when I was going into Rangiroa and fouled my line with my prop with a long line and had to dive it, it's a little traumatic for me. I'm very much line shy these days. So I'm looking out about 70 miles ahead of us, and this is all further than what I can get on AIS. But if you see this string of ships here and another string of ships here, that's all fishing. And I don't know if they're longliners or if they are fish aggregation devices where they're fishing, or if they're squid boats that are harvesting squid with these large ships that they haul the squid to and from. If they're squid boats, they'll all be lit up and we'll see them from really, really, really far away. Sometimes they use green lights, which is pretty cool. If they're long lines, we won't see any lights. And if they're, we might see a light where they have buoys, but we won't see the whole line. If they're like fish aggregation devices, I don't know if we'd see anything or not. So just out of an abundance of caution, we're gonna have to change course to avoid them. But the issue is these suckers go on for what, 70 miles? And there's 2 big strings of them. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna make way for this mark here and try and cut in between these 2, and then try and get back on our course to 145 at the equator. It's gonna cost us some easting, especially right now. We're finally getting a little bit of easting in today, where we've been getting our butts kicked, and now we're getting screwed by it. So Little depressing, not the end of the world, but super cool that we have this technology. I don't assume these boats are still going to be there. 70 miles, it's going to be a while before we even get there. So we may just see what we can do. I can't even remember if I did my morning update yet. This is day 5. We had a pretty bumpy night last night. We also had to divert around a Chinese fishing operation. Seas were consistently 2.5 to a little under 3 meters. Pretty brutally choppy at times. We had pretty good heel in the boat, just really couldn't get things very flat. Just had the occasional brief squall or two, so not too much rain or anything like that. We're looking at the sun come up now, and it looks like it could be a beautiful day. We hit a couple of small squalls already, pretty typical for beginning of the morning. It looks like it's going to be more of the same, maybe not quite as bad today, but then I'm looking at 24 knots of wind right now. And we're kind of luffing and out of balance and everything else, because we were actually talking about whether we were going to put the Genoa up instead of the staysail so that we could start making some speed. I'm looking at the speed right now. We're in the 4s with the double reef main and just the staysail out. But have a look at our conditions. And that's it. Hydrovane's been working great. 10 o'clock, whatever day it is, Friday. So Tuck and I were just sitting here kind of being bored, going nowhere fast. And we heard this beep. So we've been wondering about all this fishing stuff out here, which we never actually saw. And now I'm picking up a target, the Zenshiji 15, 10.2 nautical miles away. So I set up a 10 nautical mile radius for closest point of approach, and this guy's going to get within about 5. So I want to I mean, the radio's been silent forever, so just wanted to make sure that we're cool around whatever fishing gear or whatever these guys might be doing. And he's still got a CPA like 5 miles, so it's not like he's a collision risk at this point, but this is the closest we've gotten to anybody. So this confirms that these guys weren't ghosts. Tuck and I put the Genoa out. We're sailing well. This boat's running like a dog with a bone in her teeth. We do get a little bit of a luff every once in a while. We still have some bumps in the seas. Now we could point up to about 40 degrees and get a little bit more east, and we probably will do that, but right now I just want to get north of some more of these Chinese fishing boats. So we took a pretty good shift over to port, so we're gonna go try and go in behind more of these Chinese fishing apparatuses. So we're gonna try and stay behind them on the port side for about the next 44 miles. It gets us at a course of going about 350, which actually does backtrack us a little bit from making east, but it's mostly north, and that's okay. I think that's the right call. So I didn't get much video of this, but this is the snap shackle that failed. It was attached to the underside of the furling collar. So the furler collar
attaches to the halyard, and then there's a snap shackle there, and then there's another snap shackle underneath that which attaches to the Genoa. So this $30 part failed, and it's almost a mission kill for us because we really can't use our head sail without a shackle and without a halyard, and the halyard was stuck at the top of the mast. So we were able to jury rig and use a spare spinnaker halyard, but that meant that we would get some wraps with the halyard at the top of the headstay, which is a little bit of a risk that we would get our Genoa tangled, and also that whether we could furl and unfurl the sail properly when the winds came up. So this was a serious issue. We were able to jury rig it and continue on, but this was kind of a big moment of stress for us.
All right, I don't even know if I did an update yesterday. Aside from pushing the boat too hard and breaking it, we're back on track, and Tuck was able to manage jury rigging. We had a broken shackle on the Genoa, which is a pretty important sail for us. So Tuck was able to get us back and going, which is pretty awesome. We've been ruminating for the last couple of days about how far east we need to go before we can just kind of point and shoot for Hawaii. And I think right now we're at 146 and some change, and maybe, what is it, about 700 miles probably west of Honolulu. From where we're standing right now, which sounds like a lot, and it is, east of Honolulu. Sounds like a lot, but you know, we're still trying to make our way east where we can, but the winds have shifted and we're getting pushed down to the west a little bit. And then last night we got our fucking asses fucking kicked fucking again with fucking squalls all fucking night. And that wasn't helpful because we had to reduce sails kind of in between to be conservative with the winds that came up and approached 30 knots or hit 30 knots at times, and the seas got kind of crappy as well. So we're looking out and it's 10 till 4 p.m. We see all these clouds up ahead of us. And as it starts to cool off and the sun starts to go down, we expect that a lot of these are going to touch down as squalls. I think the good news is at least the baseline sea state is better today than it was yesterday. So the sea state has gone down a little bit, but we're finding when we get into the squalls, the sea state kicks up pretty quickly. So we've got another 3-4 days till we get to the equator. We may not be as far east as we'd like, but we're just gonna shoot our shot and do the best. And then if we have to go further east later on, motor in the ITCZ or something, so that we can get the favorable angle that we need to get into Hawaii, since we expect a pretty big wind shift when we get north of the equator in the ITCZ. Then we'll take advantage of that. I think this is day 8, Monday morning, around 20 till 6. So I'm really looking forward to our 24-hour run, to see what our numbers are. We've been doing really well on this tack. We got knocked a little bit west on our course earlier yesterday, and then, you know, from late last night into this morning, we're getting lifted back up. So it's going to put us in a much more favorable position for the equator if the forecast holds really good. Now, we actually had mostly clear skies, which was pretty epic, and no squalls last night, so I'm really thankful for that. Now, if I look around right now, I see a lot of clouds that could turn into something. the wave state, the waves are actually shorter. We don't have the big swells, but the frequency is getting down to the next couple days, like into the 7s. So it's going to be choppy, but we're not going to have the big swell. So still going to be a little bouncy on board and stuff like that, but we won't have the big swells. You know, just work our way through them. Monday, 4 o'clock. Tuck and I have been having a lot of lively conversation about weather routing and the angles that we're going to need in order to get to Hawaii once we pass the equator, as well as getting past kind of the convergence zone. And we're kind of aiming to do this whole thing on one tack, all the way effectively from Tahiti to Hawaii, which means we've been pushing hard to make east on the same tack, and we're kind of doing that now. And actually we're at a spot where we could continue to just kind of stay north and keep our apparent wind angle between 50 and 60, and we'd be okay to make Hawaii. But we have another Chinese fishing fleet that we have to get around, and we're really gonna have to kind of pinch or claw our way up as much as we can while still making reasonable speed, and hopefully not have to motor or anything like that. And then once we get around this fishing fleet, we're going to be on probably about close to 60-degree apparent wind angle, all the way up to about 5 degrees north above the equator. And then the wind, as it shifts, we're just going to follow the wind, and that's going to take us right around to Hawaii. So that's the plan, and that's how conditions are shaping up right now. We feel pretty good about it. I think we'll feel a lot better after we get around this fishing fleet. Squall about 6 miles out. I think that'll be our first one for the evening. Good morning, 8:44 a.m. Wednesday morning. This is day 10. So we had another pretty decent night. We did end our streak of missing squalls. We had 3 light rain squalls and then some other clouds that had some pressure build. So the wind speed and the direction was kind of fluctuating, so we were pretty actively trimming through the night and everything like that. But the boat speed was great. Boat's very much solidly under control. We've been doing a lot in the mid 6 knots up to 7.5 at times, occasionally dropping down a bit. So our speed has been really good. Couple of milestones. So we're over 1,000 miles so far into our journey, and all of that's been on starboard tack, which kind of blows my mind. Maybe I had that far of a ride on the way to the Marquesas, but that's pretty spectacular. We're gonna do this whole thing on starboard tack pretty much, unless when we get to the Inter Tropical Convergence Zone we see something different. The other thing is right now we're standing at 86.6 miles from the equator. So Tuck will get his shell back. I'll get my second one. We'll get across the equator, but it's going to be later tonight before any crossing shenanigans or anything like that. So it'll probably be after midnight, well after, before we cross. But that's pretty cool. We're making a mostly northerly jaunt, which we have for the last couple of days. So I expect we'll go at least up the 5 north, probably beyond that before we really take our hitch to Hawaii. So we're just kind of going straight up. We're making a little bit of east as we go up, and then at some point the wind's going to shift and everything, and then it'll start clocking us around into Hawaii. So we're kind of anxiously awaiting to see what that inflection point is going to look like in the next couple of days. So the current plan is for us to we're going to cross the equator at 0145 west, and then we're going to go to 5 north, 145 west due north. Then we'll be on squall watch. The ITCZ right now is ranging from 0 from the equator to 8 degrees north, with the strongest activity from 3 north to 7 north. And then our weather router, Mike at PV Sailing, says he has us in the slimmest part with the best flow crossover.
Give y'all a little quick update. So, yep, I stole Mark's camera, but that's what happens when you leave it around tough. Mark is out there in the cockpit sleeping. We haven't got much sleep on this trip. Sea's been rough, all that stuff, and it's after 10 o'clock tonight, but I'm gonna go wake this scallywag ass up in a minute, because let me show you where we're at. I don't know if you know what that means, but we are about to cross the equator, and so he's going to be a shellback once again, and this is going to be my first time, so we'll go out there and wake him up in just a few minutes.
Counting down our steps towards the equator. All right. What? We did it, man.
Yeah.
What time is it?
Neptune's hour.
It's Neptune's hour.
We got these beers in Tahiti, and so now it's time to give the old man a drink. Cheers.
All right. Cheers, brother. One for the captain, one for the crew. One for King Neptune and one for Keeldragger. Just a shout out to my man Tuck here. He's been obsessed over getting the boat dialed in and getting boat speed and getting back quickly. And we've been making a hell of a time here. I actually thought we'd be crossing the equator tomorrow. Then we actually got in a little bit before midnight. So what is it, like 20 till, give or take? Before midnight, so we've been flying, making absolute great time. So cheers again, brother. 9 a.m. Thursday, June 12th. Everything is turned on. We've got the water maker running, Starlink is on. We've got the engine generating power right now, so we're not we've not used the engine for propulsion. We're just using it to augment our solar. We are making Slightly over 7 knots as I speak, heading due north until about 145 degrees west, initially to about 5 north, but I think we'll go as far as 10 north before we will take our hitch over to the islands. We don't want to take our cut too soon, because then we'll be hard on the wind. And this has just been fantastic. We've been on this reach and we've just been absolutely flying the last 3 days, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what we have for our daily run, to see if we are going to beat 145 miles. That's our record. We tied it yesterday. I think today has the potential to actually be a better run than yesterday. Maybe we'll crack 150. Hey guys, so just looking at our route, I want to do a little bit of an unsolicited plug here for Predict Wind. We've been kind of trying to steer around all of these huge fishing operations here. I think most of these are Chinese fishing operations, but the scale of them is just unbelievable. These things go on for miles and miles and miles and miles. And I'll try and maybe overlay a better picture of this, but this blue line here, there were actually 2 boats here that kind of went this way, sailing vessel Flow, and looks like they went right through this fishing operation. Well, SV Flow actually hit something, and they broke their rudder, and they had to scuttle the ship, which is a big bummer. The crew on Oatmeal Savage actually came back down and rescued them, so the crew is safe. We are this red dot and this red line, so we're to the east of all these ships here, but then you look up here, up the starboard, we're going to be to the west of those, so we're actually gonna head just a little bit west to give these guys a little bit more room. You don't see these guys on AIS until you're right on top of them. So Predict Wind with their over the horizon AIS will show everything within about 250 miles, I think. So boats that you can't see on normal AIS, you might be able to see this stuff on marine traffic. And I actually find the fidelity of a lot of these are not ships, but they're AIS transponders on nets or fish aggregation devices that don't show up as clearly like on marine traffic and some of these other sites. So this is actually turning out to be one of our most critical tools that I didn't even anticipate was going to be this important until we got on this journey. So my mind's blown with how many ships are out here and all the stuff that's in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific. Morning. It's Friday, June 13th. We're still heading north. We're at about 145 west and about 3 degrees north. So we've been making our way straight north up from the equator. The ITCZ, the Inter Tropical Convergence Zone, I think is sitting from about 3 north to 8 north. So we're in the spot now where we're kind of making our transition to eventually get us into the kind of the northern high kind of part of the trades and take us into Hawaii. So conditions got a little bit rollier here, especially into last night. It's pretty smooth this morning, but we've had a nice reach, and we've still been making pretty good time, even though I think winds are a little bit under 14 knots. So it's pushed us along. Speed is maybe a little under 6. So it's pretty comfortable. Expect winds will lighten up maybe tomorrow a hair as we're getting through the ITCZ. We'll still have some flow to push us along. We'll see if we want a motor to speed things up for a day, but other than that, this is life. Friday the 13th. It's starting to get dark. You can see some squalls in the distance. Saturday, June 14th, around 6:20. This is day 13. We're just now kind of transiting the ITCZ, the Inter Tropical Convergence Zone. Winds got a little bit wonky. A lot of it's kind of coming from behind us now. Quite a bit of clouds. We've not had any squalls drop on us yet, knock on teak. We'll be in the squall zone for about another day or so. So winds are slowly going to start creeping forward, and then we'll have the wind back on our nose again, or pretty close to it, as we start making our hitch towards Hawaii. But we're at a little bit north of 5 north, around 145 degrees west, and we'll be on this for about 2 more days, I think, before we start making our drop to Hawaii. Little squall action going on. First squall in about 4 days, where we had some rain. And we'll see what happens with the winds. Right now they're just blowing 16 to 18. Sunday, June 15th. Last night was a bit of a rough one. We're motor sailing across the ITCZ. Rained most of the night. We had some thunderstorms as well. Saw a bit of lightning. Some of it a lot closer than I'm comfortable with. Squalls brought gusts up to about 25 knots of wind, which we were able to just kind of push through, but definitely was not a comfortable night last night. We're almost out of the ITCZ this morning. It's about 6 a.m. We may have to motor sail for another 30 miles or so, and then I think we'll be sailing after that, hopefully. All right, Tuck, give me one word to describe our adventure today.
Rough.
Rough.
Yeah, just rough.
Fair enough. Yeah, so we've got a little under 22 true wind. We're just getting into the wind out of the ITCZ. pointing pretty high, trying to flatten things out a little bit. Turned off the engine because we were motor sailing, and turned off the autopilot, so hydrovane's doing its deal. And we're gonna continue to point high as we get through this transition period into the east-northeast trades. And then hopefully things will smooth out, but seas are bumpy, and it's blowing. So you can see we got 22 knots of wind, true. AWA of 42, 45, so we're pinching pretty hard. Our boat speed's, it's in the 4s right now. We're just getting hammered by this sea state, and the waves just slow us down every time we hit one of these waves, so hopefully things will get a little bit more organized. Floating over there, a couple of birds on it. Pretty ominous looking clouds. It's Tuesday the 17th, around 6:15 a.m. Sun's up. We're still in this wash tub. We were still kind of getting hammered by waves, and you know, we've been on starboard tacks, we've been heeling over, so it's been really difficult to get any kind of rest or sleep. So I've been operating on fumes for the last 3 days, making it a little bit tough, but other than that, we're making way. We're about less than 800 miles to Hawaii, and we are headed towards Hilo. So scrap the plans, go to Honolulu. It's easier to check in at Hilo. So that's where we're gonna haul into. This rate, if we keep going at this speed, we'll be there in just a few days, Monday or Tuesday next week possible. So that's good, and we think conditions are going to be probably mostly like this, pretty rolly. It's actually better right now than it was a little bit earlier, but every once in a while we get a big splash, get some green water. Camera never does it justice when you see the waves, but trust me, it's been uncomfortable for days and days and days. So it's Tuesday evening, about 20 till 6. The sun's going down. Maybe it's gone down. It's starting to get dark out, but we are just plowing along. One of the issues that we have is because our furler issue with the Genoa, we've got it partially out, partially furled, and when it gets windy, it's blowing 19 something. When it starts blowing 19, 20, the boat wants to drive up high, so we keep kind of driving up, and it's hard to get things balanced. So it takes a little bit of work because we drive down, we pick up speed. Picking up speed isn't that bad of a deal, but with the sea state, plowing into waves and things like that, we actually want to moderate that a little bit at night. Right now it doesn't feel too bad. Hopefully it stays like this for the rest of the evening. Just a few minutes ago we were pounding a little bit more. So this is a look at the evening. Now we should be out of the squall zone
for the ITCZ at this point, but we may still get some wind and we may still get some squalls, and it looks like some of these clouds could be dropping a little bit of rain on us and bringing some wind. So we may see a little bit more, but right now it's blowing 18 and some change. We saw 16 for a good part of the day earlier, and then it was, it's creeping up to 20, and I'm just hoping we're not dealing with gusts up into 25 tonight. So we'll see how it goes. All right, it's Thursday the 19th. Tuck and I have been getting our asses kicked for unknown number of days. This squall run through and we got into the high 20s. We've got this issue with the shackle on the furler, so we're not able to really properly furl the Genoa. Thank me for that. But at any rate, we are going to take it down because we've got some heavier winds forecast in another day and a half or so. So we're going to try and get that sail down and just go with the staysail. May cost us a little speed. We may have to augment with a little motoring, no big deal. But as you can see out here, under these clouds that are lower to the ground are all squalls. There's a bunch of wind there, and the wave state gets worse. And we kind of managed through it a day. It's really taken us way up on our course. Would you kind of expect the stronger winds to pull us up, but the true wind direction, when you get by these, we find that we're getting like these incredible lifts towards north and east, and it's hard for us to drive down on our course with this Genoa much when there's a lot of wind coming. So we'll get the staysail, and then we can also pair that up with the reefed main and try and get things balanced out a little bit better. Only question with the staysail is, can we point high enough? And we're having kind of the opposite problem at the moment. So so that's going to be our next trick, is getting the Genoa down and getting it buttoned up, and trying to stay out of trouble with these squalls that are coming. Friday morning, just after 5 a.m. and a little squally. Pretty light winds last night, and dropped down to about 10 knots. I was trying to get the hydrovane dialed in with the light winds, and messed around to get everything dialed in, and then felt that we started moving again. Now we are, I saw 18 knots, now we got about 16. And some light drizzle, but we're making okay speed. So it looks like we'll have this stuff for a little while until the sun comes up fully, and I think this stuff will clear out. So probably a couple hours of this. I don't know if we'll get the 20 knot stuff that we had yesterday. That was driving us up a little bit. We might, but see a fair amount of rain over to our starboard, which means this stuff's kind of coming down on us. $7 a.m. Friday morning, June 20th. So one of the big things that was still stressing me out a little bit was this jury rig with the Genoa, getting the Genoa down before the winds come up the next couple of days. We're expecting sustained 20 gusts into the mid 20s, and we didn't have any way to really furl that Genoa all the way in, so it would have been way overpowered. And for the last several days we've been just Genoa alone without any mainsail up, really. So now we're back up to staysail is out with right now I've got the full main. At some point we may reef it, but right now I'm liking the boat speed.
and that is in, what do we have? About 19.5 knots of true wind. So feels pretty good. We're moving along well. I've got the engine running just for a charging cycle, and other than that, feeling pretty good. We're less than 350 miles out, so 3 days, and we should be at Hilo on the hook. We're actually making a pretty good run under staysail and full main. We've got a bit of a reach with the parent wind angle of about 90 degrees, so the parent wind's coming right across our beam, and we're just flying along into the 6s. Let's have a look. Sea state at the moment is actually not too bad. This is pretty comfortable this afternoon. Expect it'll get worse, but for right now, like, we're making good speed. It's pretty comfortable. It's easier for us to manage the system now if we start to get overpowered as the winds come up, so feeling pretty good about that. And just clocking down the miles, we've got 277 to our waypoint outside of Hilo, and another 10 or 15 after that, so less than 300 miles total. Saturday, June 21st. We are still on the same course, still on the same tack. Came up a few miles on our ley line. Drove up a little bit. Saw winds approaching 30, and they've been pretty consistently in the low 20s. The wave states, maybe just watch the horizon behind us and what's going on with the rolling action that we have here. So the individual waves are not that bad, but every once in a while they stack and you get a big one and it carries us over quite a bit. Just been debating a little bit about our tactics. I think what we're going to do for now is our boat speed's good, even though it's an uncomfortable ride. Feels like the boat's holding on well, so nothing there. If it got, you know, significantly worse, if conditions degraded, we'd be talking about do we want to run? Which I don't think we want to do that until we have to, or the other option, which we would likely do, is just heave to for a while and not lose as much ground and, you know, and everything else. But we're not at that point. Forecast looks like it's could get just a hair worse than this and be kind of consistent, heeling over. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. So this is day 21. It's a quarter after 3 p.m. and we are on the final stretch to Hilo. About 60 miles total. The island's about 35-40 miles away. Our last day getting into Hilo. We're still getting the low 20s wind, and it's still super rolly. So right now I'm seeing 23.4, 23.6 true wind, and it's been bouncy as hell last night. We've been trying to keep our teeth in. I think we're gonna make it all right, but it'll be bumpy the rest of the ride in. So we're kind of hiding down below. We get a little splash across the beam once in a while. No big deal. Keeldragger's hanging in there, but there's one right there, but it's not comfortable. A little look at what we're seeing on sail steer. So 23.5, 23.9, and We're just moving along, about 5 knots. We're down at, still at triple reefed main and staysail only. It'd be going a lot faster if we had more canvas up, but it would be a lot fun. All right, it's, what is it? Monday, 5:30 a.m. and we are coming up on Hilo Bay. There's Blonde Reef outside of the bay, so we're taking kind of a wide entry to it. And it looks like there's a little bit of rain up there too. All right, Tuck, what time is it?
It is cheers time.
Captain's hour. Damn.
We're here.
We're here. Cheers, everyone.